Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to show you guys how to fix a common timing chain rattle on a SR20 engine. Now this timing chain rattle is pretty common as the cars get older. What typically happens to the chains on these cars is they get worn out, and over time that causes the chain to kind of stretch in a way, making the links spread further apart from each other, and this all results in making it get like a rattle on startup. Typically when you have a timing chain rattle, it's either your timing chain tensioner, a timing chain guide, or just the timing chain in general has worn out too much to the point where the timing chain tensioner is not applying enough tension. So in my particular case, my engine is rattling on startup, and then sometimes if I give it enough gas when I'm driving, I hear the chain rattle a little bit. So I decided to further look into this, and I actually saw that my tensioner is leaking. So I'm going to show you guys what I mean by it leaking and how it sounds when it turns on. Now that we have confirmed that the tensioner is leaking, we're going to go ahead and remove it. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and put our engine in top dead center. The reason we're going to put it in top dead center is to ensure that we run a less risk of the timing chain skipping the teeth when we turn on the car. These are some of the tools that you're going to need to replace the tensioner. We're going to need a 27mm socket, 10mm socket, we're going to need an extension, and our ratchet. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of how it should look like when it's in top dead center. So right here you guys can probably see that little piece of metal sticking out next to the belts. So we're gonna move that until we see some little lines on the crank pulley right here, and that's gonna show us that we're in top dead center. In order to turn the crank by hand, we're gonna go ahead and get our ratchet with our 27mm. We're gonna go ahead and place it on the bolt right here, and we're gonna turn until we see top dead center on the little pulley. So this is how your pulley should look like when you're in top dead center. It's going to be the second line to the left as shown in the pulley right here. To further confirm that we're in top dead center, we're going to go ahead and remove our oil cap, and we're going to look down at the cam lobe right here. You guys can see that it's kind of facing that way, and it should be like that. That's how you know you're in top dead center, looking at the cam lobe. Also, if you remove the spark plug from cylinder 1, you'll be able to look down and see the top of the piston, and that's how you can further confirm that you're in top dead center. The first step that we're going to do is remove these two nuts. There's one right here and one up here. When you guys remove them, make sure not to drop the washer that's behind them. This is going to be a size 10mm nut. So we just have our ratchet and our 10mm socket attached to it. I don't have the extension on it just yet, so we're just going to get the socket right on the nut right here. I'm going to go ahead and remove it. For the next nut, we're going to attach our extension, and we're going to remove it. And it's right up here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's like right there. So I'll go ahead and just remove it. Now that you have removed the two nuts, the tensioner should just come right off. We have the tensioner out of the car already. I'm going to give you guys a close-up of the tensioner. It comes with the metal gasket. This is the original tensioner, and you guys probably can see that the O-ring right here is completely destroyed. So I decided to get a aftermarket tensioner right here for the Infinity. Now, something that I wanted to point out to you guys is that this tensioner does not come with the metal gasket right here, so I kind of don't like that. Also, I wanted to give you guys a little close-up of this tensioner. Comparing this to the original one, you guys can see that there's some differences. looking at these little teeth right here, you guys can see that these are not as fine as these. So this is probably going to allow for a much greater play as far as, you know, when the tensioner is fully extended, it's going to be able to move more. So I don't know how that's going to work out. Also, something that I didn't like about this tensioner is that you guys can see the little cutout right here for the oil. On the original one, you guys can just see the quality differences. See right there, that's like nicely machined. Right here is just like really crappy, you know. So I don't know how to feel about that, honestly. Hey guys, so I kind of took a break from this project because what happened is I installed the new tensioner, the new gasket, and it comes with a new O-ring. And I installed it into the car. Everything was fine. I turned on the car and everything leaked out of the car. And as you guys can probably see, there's oil everywhere. So it didn't even run for like maybe 30 seconds and all the oil just spilled out of the tensioner. And you guys saw that there was differences as far as the tensioner goes. It wasn't made as well as the original, and that goes the same with the gasket that it came with. So what I ended up doing was returned everything that I bought from O'Reilly's. I returned the gasket, I returned the tensioner and the O-ring, and I decided to go with the manufacturer, which is Nissan. I ended up getting this gasket, which is made out of metal, and it's very well made as far as the material that it's made out of. It's some kind of metal covered with like a coating of something on top. And I also ended up getting this O-ring right here. Now, if your tensioner is in good shape, technically you don't have to replace it. On this one, I'm gonna reuse the same one because even though it's used, the quality of this original tensioner is far better than the one that I got from O'Reilly's. So this is what I ended up doing. I ended up just buying this from Nissan and keeping my old tensioner. Technically, the only thing that was bad was my gasket right here. It was leaking, and if you're gonna take this out, might as well get this O-ring. This is the one that goes on the tensioner. It goes over right here in this groove. And it's important to get this as well because this allows for the oil to not escape, and the gasket allows it for the oil to not leak out. Now, it's important when this is working properly because when you turn on the engine, all the pressure gets stuck in here, extending the piston, reducing the rattle on startup. By the way, this is the part number for the gasket, and I'll leave the part numbers for all three parts right here in a description for you guys. So we're gonna put our O-ring on the tensioner. We're gonna get some oil on our fingers and just rub it on the tensioner and rub it on the O-ring right here. And then we're gonna put it on. Just like that. We're gonna open up our gasket right here. Alright, so the way this goes on the car is like this. So you guys can probably see that there's a little divot right here that's sticking out, kind of like a little raised up area. So that is supposed to be on the outside, and this is supposed to be making contact with the surface on the engine block. So if you look at your old tensioner, you'll be able to see how it was put on. So you guys can see that there's this little edge right here. So it should go like this, So this is how it should look like when you install it. The opening for the oil should be on top. The bottom port right here should have this on the bottom, and then this side should have this sticking out. Something important that I wanted to talk to you guys about was this tensioner. So you guys might be wondering how we're gonna get this clip off of here, and the answer to that is pretty simple. Pretend that this is the guide for the timing chain, and as we screw this in, what is happening is you're pushing pressure towards the guide, and technically what's supposed to happen is when you screw in the tensioner all the way, this is how it should look like. just like that. And then once you turn the engine, it should slowly extend, taking up the slack in the chain. So that's how it should look like. So you guys don't have to worry about this getting stuck on here. As long as you push this all the way in and you're in top dead center, this should always happen. And don't forget to turn your engine over with your hand to make sure that this is taking up the slack before you turn on the engine. It's kind of hard to see, but we're gonna go ahead and install the tensioner on here. So we have the gasket and the tensioner. We're gonna go ahead and put it in the hole. And then make sure that your gasket lines up with the studs on here and that it goes in. You're gonna know that it's on there correctly if you can see the studs right here sticking out a little bit. That's how you know that you have put the tensioner on right. Sometimes this doesn't like to go on right, so just keep moving around with it until you can see the studs like this. And then what you want to do next is get your washer. So get your little washer that came with the nut. Go ahead and get that and go ahead and put it on there. So we're gonna go ahead and put it on, and then get your nut and start screwing it on. And then you want to do the same thing to the other one. The trick that I like to do is to get this socket and put it on the nut and start turning it with your fingers until you can't anymore, and just keep going side to side so that it goes in evenly. And you're gonna keep doing this until you can't anymore with your finger, and then you're gonna switch over to your ratchet. Once you have the tensioner in, we're gonna go ahead and turn the engine over with our hand until we can hear the tensioner click. That is gonna let us know that the tensioner has been unhooked from the little hook and it's getting extended, taking up the slack in the chain. We're gonna go ahead and turn the engine over with our hand, and we're gonna do this until we hear the tensioner click. And you don't want to do it too fast, just nice and slow. Alright, so we already heard that. You guys, I don't know if you guys heard that, but it clicked right there. And it's clicking a little bit more. It's applying tension to the chain as we're spinning. Now that we have installed the tensioner with the gasket, we're going to go ahead and turn on the engine to see if it's leaking. Now that we have checked to see that our tensioner is not leaking, we can conclude the end of the video. But let's say this didn't help you out, and let's say that this didn't get rid of most of your rattle on startup. What you guys might have is an older SR20. Now when I mean that you guys have an older SR20 is that the older ones have a upper guide, which is right up here. Over time the chain wears out and eventually it comes into contact with it, and it wears down the upper guide so much that it's metal on metal contact in a way, and it gives you a lot of rattle. The solution to that is to remove your valve cover and remove the upper guide. But for the most part, just replacing that O-ring and the gasket and replacing the tensioner is a big way that you guys can eliminate most of the rattle. Now I do have some rattle left on startup, but it's not as significant as it was before. So with that being said, if you guys did like what you guys saw in the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.